first of all, sorry all you guys because I couldn't make it. Suddenly, like family emergencies, so or not emergencies, but I've been hanging out with my daughter all day instead of being over at you guys. So sorry about that. But let's get into this little talk about Drupal 8 and the wonderful world of theming and some of the things we have changed, and especially all of the things you guys have to unlearn now, especially if you work as a themer, and new things you have to understand as a developer. And if you really begin to hate that, you can blame Lowry for it because he's responsible for that. And I know he's in Baltic, so that's good. So who am I? Well, I run a small shop here in Copenhagen called Geekware. I also work for an American company called TAG1 Consulting. I have a column in the Drupal watchdog called The Angry Themer, where for the last, I think, 4 years or so, I've been yelling about theming, and I'm also the maintainer of the classy theme, which we're going to talk about a little bit. First of all, I'm going to mention a thing around the Stockholm Syndrome that we have had in the Drupal world for years. And Stockholm Syndrome is, if you don't know about that, this is nothing about the Swedish chef or IKEA. It's what happens when you are held captured for a certain period of time, and suddenly you begin to accept and understand and trust your captures and actually think they're right. And how does that resolve into Drupal? Well, this is Drupal 7 markup. This is in no way a thing no themer ever have liked, no frontend ever wanted, and frankly, we don't even know how it came to be that way. But and we have the divitis, which we have called is kind of a feature in Drupal 7. Not to mention the 500,000 of lines of PHPtemplate, which seem to be totally okay in a Drupal 7 theme. Or the class soup was also seen as another feature of Drupal 7 because then you always had a class you could match on. Well, no themer likes this. So one of the things we came up with when we began to work on Drupal 8 was, this has to stop in Drupal 8. So what we have done is we have introduced a new theme engine called TWIG, and we have said goodbye to PHPtemplate, which have forced us to do a lot of things. But first of all of your theme functions are now dead. I'm so very sorry, dear developer, if you liked your theme functions, but they are now dead and gone. Everything now instead in TWIG is a template, which means everything have a template file that the themer then can find easily and locate and put into his own theme instead of monkeying around trying to find functions somewhere. And before anybody goes into like rage quit mode, Drupal 8 is not slower. That has nothing to do. If it is slower, that's probably because you run your site without cache. And if you run your site without cache, don't ask the theme system what's wrong. Ask your 8 million DB queries why stuff takes time. So just to take that in. But the first thing we wanted to make sure was the theme was in control of the markup and the CSS. And that's like the most important thing. And to get to that point, you need to unlearn PHPtemplate. So if all of you guys just close your eyes for a second, and then remove all of your knowledge of PHPtemplate and how theming used to be done, and then open your eyes again. Now I can't see any of you guys, so I hope you have opened your eyes again now. Else you're just gonna hear my beautiful voice for the next 45 minutes. Okay. In case that you fall asleep now, let's just take 8 quick things that have changed because my talk is too long and you didn't listen, but you want to be able to talk about this stuff later. So we have killed support for IE6, IE7, and IE8. Markup is now HTML. CSS is smacked and BEM based. Modern practices have been moved into the markup, so we killed and removed all the IDs. And the 7 theme is also responsive. JavaScript classes that CSS classes that we've used for JavaScript selections have been prefixed with a JS dash. So let's say you have something you really need to use for JavaScript, you do a JS dash foobar, and then you will have a supporting class for that foobar where you would put your colors and so forth in to make sure we separate these things. We've killed divitis. We killed that 2 days ago. For me personally, there's been 7 years of ultra hate towards Drupal. The issue is a 1.5 years old, 350 comments. We finally removed the biggest and worst thing around Drupal, and about 80% of all the markup is now gone. jQuery dependency, if you don't like jQuery, you know what? You just don't put it into your theme, and then you don't get those 32 kilos of love it's pretty simple like that. Oh yeah, by the way, core is clean. Core is now minimal markup. There's no classes inside of it. If you want to have classes and stuff, then the new theme Classy is going to be your new friend. Oh yeah, and we changed the theme engine. So these are like the 8 points that if you know these, then you know can talk about all the awesomeness of why Drupal 8 is badass. So let's just first look into this TWIG thing and what it is, because it's a little bit different. TWIG, it's a modern template language. It's written by the Symphony guys. It's used by other systems, which is a part of our Get Off the Island plan. And it's really, really easy to learn. So basically, this is an output. You have a variable and you have a comment, and that's what you need to know. If you want to find a variable that is inside of an object, let's say in the content, you do this dot notation. So you do a dot between each element. So when Drupal 7, you did you never really know if things was an object or an array, and you had to use like 0 and and all kinds of like secret handshakes. You don't need to do that. You just do a dot between each element, and then that way you can drill into your data. If that data, we have an issue when this has a hashtag in it, because hashtags in TWIG is also a comment. So we have an issue here, but so sometimes you have to use the also.this and then a hashtag with the square brackets. If you have a variable and you want to do something to that variable data that comes out, let's say want to make it upper class or something like that, use the pipe symbol and then you put in your function afterwards. So you can have TWIG functions that can modify your data after you print it out to the template. So let's see here, I'm going to take my username, mortendk, and I'm going to do an uppercase on it, and it's going to print out mortendk as uppercase. Pretty simple, pretty easy to use. Translate is done 2 different ways. You can either do it as a pipe T, or you can actually wrap a whole part of your data inside of the trans and intrans TWIG tags. So you can begin to put your variables and so forth in. And this is a huge help for us who do multi-language websites, because we don't have to like grab stuff around and figure out what is a variable, what's not a variable. You just put in all your data and you wrap it in your trans and intrans. Simple control if and else commands we have as well. So let's say if a person is mortendk, you'll print out he loves Drupal 8 and then endif. These are the different control patterns that you have. You have the same thing for loops. So if you have a piece of data, you can loop through that and you can work through every part of it. Auto escape is another thing that is included directly. So let's say you actually want to have a piece of data out and you don't want to auto escape that. You have a pipe for that called raw. Security is though something developers seem to like a lot. So this is a function that's there. Don't use it too much. I should probably remove it from here. Another thing you can do is you can create variables inside of your template. And you're going to see this later on when we begin to talk about how we create classes inside of a template. But basically, you can do a set foo and set that to bar. Then if you print foo out in your template, that's going to print out bar. And that's what's in to learn that. If you want to learn more about this, go to twig.sensiolabs.org/documentation. They have a one-pager that has all of the different elements here. And it's actually pretty sweet, and it's really, really easy to learn. It took me an hour-ish, 2 hours maybe to understand, this is how it's going to go. And from then on, you can pretty much do everything you want to do as long as you get outside of your normal mindset of thinking in PHP. So TWIG is extremely powerful and extremely simple, and it gives us some really big jumps. But enough of that. Let's jump next to the next thing. So I hope you get an idea of TWIG. Else, ping me later and afterwards, or read the documentation. The biggest change we did in Drupal 8 was changing the way that we're thinking markup and where markup gets created. And there's a new theme in Drupal 8, which is called Classy. And Classy is the theme that generates all of your CSS classes. And it seems a little bit strange maybe, but let me just show you this. So here we have Drupal core, and Drupal core and Drupal 7 did this. It pumped out everything to you: HTML, CSS files, and classes. In Drupal 8, what we're doing now is we're piping that through the Classy theme, and the Classy theme then takes care of adding in the CSS, and then it puts all of your classes into Drupal 8. So adding in the classes and adding in the HTML. That's the whole principle of it. So you can swap out class if you want to use something else. And it's seen as a base theme in the system. So core prints out variables to classy, and classy take these variables, and then 7 and start is relying on these. So your own theme, you have to decide for yourself, what do I want to do? If I just want to use Drupal's default markup as we built 7 on Polygon, well, then we're going to use classy. And classy is very much inheriting a lot of the things that we had in Drupal 7. So if you're used to working in that kind of markup, then you're going to feel really home. But if, let's say, you don't want to use classy, then in your base theme, in your theme, when you define them, you just don't define the base theme. That will give you just a bunch of empty divs. And maybe, actually, if we get it all cleaned up before release, we're even going to remove these divs because we don't even need them anymore. If you want to get some like default markup, you're going to cap that with set base theme to classy, and that's going to give you all the base classes and all the classes, so you can just work on them. And that's the same classes that 7 and Bardic is relying on. The first time if you dig in and you go all the way into the classy theme, you will see that everything is grouped in there. You have a blog and content edit, data sets, fields, forms, layout, navigation, users, and views. These are different templates because we now have somewhere around 150 templates. Having all of those templates in one big folder would be a nightmare. So we've tried to group them in different logical ways. It was a long discussion between a bunch of us in an issue. I really hope that you guys think we were right with this, else we have to change it around. This is more like when you start out your new theme, what you can do is you basically, actually, let me just jump up here and do this so you can actually see it, because that's way more fun. Let's see here, Drupal 8, core, themes, Arctic classy. Here we go. So as you can see, we have all of these different templates all around. The idea with this is, so when you start up your new theme, and let me say that, hey, you know what? I just want to copy all of what Drupal does out of the box. But from then on, I just want to override what I want to override. I don't want to think about if I do something wrong. And I know that class is set in rocks, and it is. So if I just go in and I basically I copy all of my templates directly, and then let me see, I jump into my themes folder, and I do a foobar theme. I just let me just do this, by the way. Boom. Then inside my foobar theme, I just of course I didn't want to copy. This is the best thing about doing live demos, right? Let me just go back here. Core, themes, classy, templates, motherfucker. Oops, sorry for that. And there we go. And then you just copy all of your templates out, and now you have all of your templates directly in your folder. And then what you would do next up is, let me just take this file here. What you would then do next up, you just define your, come on. You would have your base theme classy here as your definition. Just get this up here. You just remove this part of it, and now you have complete control over your templates. So let me just jump back to my talk. I'm gonna come into how we're gonna change this later on. So basically, in your theme name, in your info file, you define base theme as classy. If you don't do that, you will not get any classes. It was a big day for me when we got the first bug report in after classy got added in, because people are so used to do a certain thing in Drupal 7, and in Drupal 7, if you don't define anything, you just get all of Drupal's crap markup out. And we've changed that around in Drupal 8, that you actually have to define. You actually have to say, yo, I want this. And if you don't say I want to have classes theme, you're not going to get it. And that's why I mean by you have to forget everything you knew about Drupal 7 and accept this as a new system that just builds on all of the same principles. Let me just close the door here. So hope you got this part in. Let me jump next here. And some people might say, I heard that somebody said that, at the end of the day, the mothership went into core and said it went into classy, and it might smell a little bit like that. I would not say that would not be the philosophy that we built up. But so these are like these are the ground principles that we built on. So let's set up a new theme. Let me just run you guys through that. So first of all, themes live now inside of your root folder. So root/theme/theme name. So not as it used to do in Drupal 7 and 6 and 5, where it had to be in site/all/blah blah default or your site name. Now you just drop all of your themes inside of /themes instead. And inside of your theme folder, what you're going to have, there's like 4 files. There's 3 files you define stuff with, and 1 file where you do all your PHP stuff if you need that. So first of all, your info file. Your info file is theme configuration and CSS files you want to remove. That's what that's going to happen. So when you define a new theme, I have a theme here called Yggdrasil, and it has the basic info, the name, the type, the description of it, package, what version of core it's in, and what kind of screenshot it has. Besides that, then we have libraries. And libraries is where you define CSS and JavaScript libraries. So that's basically where you just define your new files, where you define your files. You don't add your files directly inside your info file anymore. What you still do, though, is you remove your CSS files. We have a style sheets -remove. You can remove them now from your info file. And you, as we used to in 7, define your regions and so forth. And style sheet remove is pretty powerful, actually. What you can basically do is you have to define them by the whole path of where the file lives, which file you want to remove, and it's pretty easy to do that. What up, baby? Okay. Oh, sorry. Just a second here. I have an emergency. A second. Okay. we just gotta have water leak in the basement. That's always fun. I'm gonna go further on with this. God damn it. So inside our libraries, what are we gonna do with the libraries? Well, you have JavaScript and you have CSS. And how you define that is you say libraries has a global. So here I define a library called global, and inside the global, I gotta have global is like where this is all of my global CSS for my theme, and I have as you can see the next file, the .libraries YAML file. I define CSS, a theme, print, and a style, and I also define my JavaScript, and I define my dependencies. All of these things gets added into a theme as you use them. So if you kind of think of this like this is where you put in your JavaScript, you put in your CSS, and you call that from your info file. It's the same way that a module does it, and we want to have the same way that modules and libraries are doing the things together. Let's see here. So we've got your name, you've got your CSS files you want to add in, and you have your JavaScript files. And you can see JavaScript here got a dependency that says core/jQuery. If you don't add this dependency in, it will not call in jQuery, which I think is pretty powerful that we now, jQuery, you have to opt in instead of have to remove it, which used to be a really pain to do that. And when you look at this as a components with CSS and themes, what you have here is you have different variation of component and theme. This is the same way that we're using this in the SMAX way of defining CSS files, base layout, component, state, and theme. And if you don't know about SMAX, go on and read about it. This is how we define all of our stuff in Drupal 8. By the way, what you can do direct from your template file now is you can attach a library. which is pretty powerful stuff. So you can attach library directly to your you can attach a CSS file directly to a template file by attaching a library. So you would define a library. Let's say you have a slider functionality. You attach the library slider functionality onto the template file that has the slider in it. If you want to have breakpoints and responsive images built into Drupal 8, which is pretty sweet, you define all of this stuff directly in the template file, and inside of this template file, you then not template file, YAML file, and if you define that, then you're going to get these elements, these different names, the different sizes. You're going to get them into your site. So you don't define this in a database hidden somewhere. You define it inside your theme where it actually should live. If you're getting like panicking, hey, what about pre-process? What about all this stuff I used to do? Well, first of all, let's get away from doing all of this pre-process stuff, but you can still do that. We now have a .theme file. .theme was PHPtemplate. So that's just like, that's that file. And let's say if you want to do a special thing inside your theme here, I say that in my maintenance page, I want to attach a maintenance library, and the maintenance library, as you can see further down, is actually just a maintenance-page.css. So look at libraries as collections of CSS and JavaScript. That's what it is. Libraries sounds like, to me, it sounds all kind of magical, but it's not. So it's just CSS files. So how do we find stuff and how do we debug stuff? Well, first of all, what you should do is inside your settings PHP file, start by copying sites and then example settings local PHP to site/default settings locals PHP. And then in your settings PHP, you uncomment that local stuff. It's all the way down the bottom. If you don't do that, you will get a ton of white page errors as you make errors on your page. So this is the first thing you want to do. Then you download the Devel module, you install Devel, and you could get Drush in and get Kint in. That's where you want to go. You can do all this stuff without using Drush, but Drush is just so much easier. Disable your cache because cache is enabled by default. Do not ask me why it's that. And then you can do all kinds of like awesome debugging. And let me show you this thing. It's actually pretty sweet. So here's my page, and I want to change something on this page. And normally, as it used to be back in the good old days, see if I actually remember to clear my cache. I didn't. God damn it! Let me just go like this. So one of the things we really want to do is where are you at? There you are. So if you have a file that calls services inside your site. Let's see here. Don't be slow on me. So here we have good old nice markup. And if you want to figure out where's the thing coming from, then you get this kind of thing out, right? You have a fuck ton of markup and you have no idea where it goes. And you can kind of guess, oh, okay, I guess this is a node because it says data history node ID or something like that. So you have these, like, you can do the guessing game. What you can also do instead is, and I think this is way sweeter, is you go into your services file, and services is built, it's directly down here, sites, defaults, and then services. Go into services and you go down and you find your debug and you set debug to true. And then I do my Drush CR. Drush CR is the same as Drush CCO. And then what happens is when I reload my page, God damn it. Boom. There we go. And then I get this. Let's just like get up on this. Okay, as you can see here, I got all of this kind of like awesome stuff coming up that tells me all of these things. This is my note, and it says, oh, note that, can you see this, guys? Oh, let me just jump back here to my slides, because next slide has this very big. Here we go. So um, this now gives me a file name suggestion inside of my view source. It's commented out so I have no relations inside of my markup, but I can, by view source, see what happens. File name suggestions give me a ton of different suggestions, and it gives me the a node HTML twig that have the X in front of it, and that means that this is the template file that I'm currently using. And if you look at the next line down there, just beneath it, it says begin output from, and then somewhere the whole path to it. So it also tells me where's my file coming from, which can be really, really, really helpful. So when I begin to work around my theme, as you can see here, I can now see, oh, actually, this is actually using node dash article, and it's like themes, webinar, templates, content, node article, and I have it over here as well. So now I know which template file to go and look for, and that just like saves me the headache to figure out where that stuff is coming from. The next step you wanted to do, and of course I broke my site this morning, is getting kint in. Kint, what it does is if you do a kint and then a call on a template, then it will actually print out all of the variables for that variable name. So you can begin to drill in and see where it all comes from. So when you want to take it further down that step. And these are the two debug tools that we have. So you get all of in your view source, you get told, where's my template? And if you want to drill into a variable, you use kint and do a kint and then the template name. And that's the two things that you need to know to figure out what actually goes on as a theme. So let's now kind of have an idea of how we do this stuff. Let's take it like one step further inside of the. Let me see. Why is it bugging up? Sorry, my screen just begins to become really slow. There we go again. All right, so we have not changed everything in Drupal 8. No worries. We still have like basic elements. So we have the HTML, but the HTML twig file. Inside of that is our page. Inside of that page is our regions. Inside of these regions, we can have different things. We can have views, we can have nodes, we can have blocks. And inside of those blocks, say inside of a node, we have all the fields. And it's in the fields that all the magic goes on in TextPay. That's where everything is basically a field in Drupal 8. So you're going to end up when you theme your stuff having a ton of fields. And that's inside of the node. So this is going to be the reality. We're going to have field all over the place, and that's a good thing because we want to change this markup. But how are we going to do that? Well, we have this wonderful thing called without, and without is how we can split out a variable, and we can split that out, and then we can print it out all over. Here's my very simple site. It has a top, a left, and a right. And see, I do a content without, then a bunch of different elements. Links, field image, and field tags. These are different fields I don't want to print. So I do content and print all the content, but without these three fields. And then what I can do, let me just go back here again. As you can see further up, I do a content.fields tags, and then further down, I do content field image. So I can spread them out that way. And what the without function do is it takes the content and it split out the certain field. And that's back to our pipe. You have a variable, and without is a twig function, and then the field names. And to take that a certain step further, like just to get it on the conceptual level, let's say you have a layout that says content and image and tags like this, and you want to split them out. If you just print content, you get everything in the same group, it's just everything inside of the content variable. I want to split that out, do content, pipe, and without. And then I have the image, and I do content without image, and then content.image, and content.image I can then print that out on the page where I want to do that. The same thing with the tags, content.tags. and I do without that as well. The wonderful thing about that is if we come down 6 months later and we suddenly figure out that we want to add in a new field, we add in the new field. And when we add in the new field, it's not going to get hidden. It's just going to be printed with the rest of the content. And you're going to still have your own layout, but you have not broken anything. You've just taken elements out of your content variable. And that gives us, here, content without links, field image, field tags. Field image are printed out to the right, field tags print out in the top. And that is how you can begin now inside of your template to build the markup structure that you want. And that's the like, most important thing as we see it. And this is how you can control your layouts directly inside of a template. So let's say next thing, of course, would be to take this field and then do something magic with it. Here I have my node.html, the TWIG file, and I have my content.field.tags. And first thing you want to do is you want to go look for the file name suggestion, and you do that, right-clicking on the field and looking into it, and you view source, and you can then see where it comes from, what you're going to do. You're going to create a new file with the same file name, so you can overwrite that. And inside of that, I can do magic stuff. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, I'm doing a for loop, and then I go through each item, and I print out the URL and the title. Also use that as an icon, and then I end up getting this kind of markup. And this is like how you're gonna like work through your site and change each element the way that you want to, and just overwrite them again and again and again. The thing is and that's like the default of how you're gonna work in Drupal 8. It's gonna be a ton of files because the theme system is file based. It is not a Visual hopefully config. It's like one step at a time. So next up is, and it's just a side note, which is like really interesting when you look into the templates, is the attributes. So attributes can be anything from a class, a data part, area tags and so forth. And how do we manipulate them? Well, in 7, Drupal printed everything out to us and had an idea that was what we wanted. With pre-process, with GPL files, theme function, it was kind of a mess. It's kind of hard to figure out how to do that. So what we're doing in Drupal 8 instead is we take the variables, pipe them through Classy, and Classy generates them. So how do Classy do this? Well, let's look here in my tags here. In my top of my template, it do a set classes tags, and then field stuff, and then it does the tilde, which is like an add or field dash entity type clean class, and then the field name. So you can begin to recreate our classes as we want them inside of that template. So at the top of each template in Drupal 8, what you're going to have is you're going to have a set classes. That set classes will then define a bunch of classes that with a new function, the add class, it's going to add in these classes that you need. So if your theme do not need all of the Drupal stuff that it comes out with, you want to have very specific class names, you can change them inside of your templates instead of having to do that with a pre-process, regular expressions and so on. You can also remove a class. So let's say somebody wrote a module and they hard-coded classes in, you can actually begin to remove them out of the output. Can you do that with a remove class from the attributes? So basically, core provides classes that are essential to or essential to functionality, like is visible. These are classes that we want to have in to have our accessibility. But besides of that, classes should be provided because they need visual things. So core provides some classes. Then you can have a module provide classes as well. How a module provide a class is using the var attributes and then do an add class. But really don't do that. What you should do is you should add this in with a variable instead. So we can take that variable and we can then create the classes inside of the templates. Get out of the idea that your module will provide suggestions to how to do stuff, make the theme decide for the rest of it. And then you have Classy, and Classy is just going to add in the theme theme elements as it wants. So in this way, we have kind of best of both worlds. We have the basic functionality that Drupal needs. We have what modules could add in if it really needs that. And we have classy to add in and modify all of the rest of the classes. So if you pipe outside of the module and pipe outside of classy, you're going to get almost 0 classes. And you're going to use always use the attributes and .add class and then theme, the theme classes that you need to get in. And you remove them by it's going to remove CSS module. So and the same thing if I want to remove the module and the core CSS files, CSS classes, sorry for that, then you do it that way. A short note on CSS classes is that we have the JS-prefix. JS-prefix is basically JavaScript classes that's needed for something, but by giving it a normal CSS class name, it's hard for us to figure out when is this actually needed for something when it's not. So everything that's prefixed with JS is kind of a warning sign, like, we need this for JavaScript functionalities, not for visual. If you want to do visual stuff, add in another class to it. So you have JS for JavaScript stuff, and then make it green, blue, and pretty. Put that inside of the as a normal class name. So basically, in your attributes, you have remove class, you have add class, and you have set. You can also do a set attribute. So if you want to put an ID on something, for example, you can do that as well. So you can do all of these different things, and you can do that. All this is done directly inside the template, not in the pre-process, not everywhere else. Whew. All right. If that was not enough to think that, oh shit, this is like really, really awesome, we also have a TWIG block. And a TWIG block is like a really cool element from that comes from TWIG. And what it does is it can expand on existing templates. And what is that? Well, let's say I have my page here, page HTML.twig, and I want to put something inside of it. And I want to do that when I'm on the front page. Well, what you can do is you begin to have two different files. You begin to overwrite them. And let me just. So what I'm going to do, what I have here is I have a TWIG block on my page, and then on my then I go in and check, okay, which other templates can be called on this page? Well, if it's only on the front page and I want to extend it there, I do a page -- front, and on that I can then overwrite that block. Actually, let me show you here in as an example instead. So this is my front page for a page, and let me see. Okay, so this is my block front page, and down here in my folder I have a page -- front. Page -- front is a page I know that's going to be called on the front page. That's the theme hook suggestions, and I create a block here that is called front page. I could also call it Baltics, and then I go over to my front page, and here I have my special this piece of block, and I say, well, this is only going to be on the front page. Let me just clear my cache to make sure that's going to work. And as you can see, there's nothing now down right here right now, and hopefully, come on, Bubalo. Is it actually gonna? Are we actually gonna have a case of? Maybe it helps if I save my page. Ta-da! All right, so I shifted out a very small part of the page, but if I go into a normal node, it do not have this in it, and I can even do like this. No, let's do this. H1, and let's do class green. God damn it. HTML is hard. Stop laughing. All right. So I have my page template, which have all of the normal stuff that a page template has in it. And I created this Baltic block, and by saying that all of my page HTML should normally just have green inside of it, it doesn't need to have that. But if I'm on the front page, make it red and say, go Drupal 8. And let's just jump over here again. So here's my node. If I go back to my home page, let's just remove all the, there we go. Ta-da! So this is a simple way that you can begin to exchange small part of your templates all around. And the wonderful thing of that is, so you don't end up, if you have a lot of variations that you want to do on a template, you can keep the same base markup for it, but you can exchange the little elements that you need to change on it. So you don't end up having 8 different variations of your page template. You have your page template, and then inside of that, you can build your logic in with blocks. And you can do that on all your template files. You can do that on a field and so forth. It's really powerful, and it begins to give a really interesting logic into how we can think a template. So the last thing I'm just gonna jump in on and touch really quick. This was the thing I was trying to get fixed this morning, so I could actually show you, because we got this in 2 days ago. Is the fields, and the field template has changed a lot. As you might remember in Drupal 7, everything is wrapped. Every field is wrapped into 3 divs, and it's a goddamn nightmare to work with. A lot of divs, a lot of classes, it's very, very hard to figure out what goes on. What we've done now is we have 4 basic elements inside of a field. We have a field, which is the main field. We have a label, we have items, and we have an item. And that's the cornerstones of what is around the field. When you look into the field template, you're going to see, first you're going to see 2, an if and an else. It says if label hidden, and if label is visible, because we have 4 different ways that a field can be viewed on. Let me actually just jump over to, let me see here, just show you a field. This is the field, and if you look inside of the field, let's go and take the body, so it looks a little bit pretty. So what fields will do? See, I've created here a single field with no label, a single field with a label, secret label, multiples, and with 2 fields and so forth. These are these are the different variations you can do of a field. And what we want to make sure is that we can actually work with this inside of a template and do stuff with it in a certain way. So first we test out, is the field label hidden or is it not? So do we need to print out a label? If we don't need to print out a label, there's no reason for us to have the markup for that. And the same thing, if there is multiple fields, or if there's a single field, it requires different kind of markup. We're not just going to do one markup for all of it. And let me just jump over here to show you this. There we go. So here is my, let me see, just going to show you. Here's the whole field template, right? So first I define classes. I have a field class, the field -- name and -- type and -- label. I hope if you don't understand, this is the way that we're naming everything in. The -- is a variation of it. And then we have variation of the field. And then we have the field class, the title class, which is label. And then we come in here and we have, well, first we test, is this hidden? If it's multiples, or write this. And at first when you look at this, you go into panic mode, like, oh my god, this is so complicated. Well, let me actually, if I just do this, I'm just going to kill all the classes. This is I'm hacking core right now. So if you look at this, the thing we want to make sure about is when you have a single field, you just have one div wrapper around it. Now we have all of this data. Let me just see what happens actually if I save it. This is a poll I did a couple of hours ago. So So the chance of this to explode is way too high. But now for the funsies of it, we just killed all the classes so we can like look at the markup a little bit prettier. Here we go. So here we have a single field. Let me just do this. It is HTML. Bam. Let me just remove all this data shit. And let's remove the quick edit field. This is out of the box. This is a single field with no label. This is how it looks now in Drupal 8. If you look at this in Drupal 7, Drupal 7 would be 3 divs down. If you take it one step further down here, let's close this. And I say, well, I'm going to look at a single field with a label on. Just edit that as HTML as well. The quick edit and quick data here is stuff that Drupal uses. And here we go. It would be nice if we could white space all of that stuff. So this is our label, and this is our item, and that's the amount of data that you get wrapped around each field and each element that you need. Which means that the normal issue that we have around Drupal 8, which was divitis and divitis hell, is now removed completely. So when you begin to look into your markup and begin to work around it, you're actually going to see a very, very clean markup that is usable and workable. And if you want to like change around the classes and do what you want to do, well then add in the class. Let's say I don't want to have it to say field -- type. I just want to have it to be typed. You just remove that, or you just, well, I don't need to have an indicator of label or field name. The only thing I'm interested in is in my type. You just overwrite that and do that and be done with it. And that's how it is. Whew. So, with that, let me see. Oh shit, I talked almost an hour for that. Here's some links if you want to like dig one step further down into the theme guide. If you want to read about more of this, go to drupal.org/themeguide/8. You want to read into our CSS standards, which we have completely changed. Go into Drupal.org/coding standards/CSS to learn about SMACs, which is how we organize a lot of our CSS, actually all of our CSS. Go and read that. It's a really, really good documentation of everything that Drupal does and how CSS can be organized in really big sites. If you're unsecure about BEM, don't be. It's just a way of like doing class names. And yeah, sensuallabs.org/documentation is where the TWIG documentation is at. I think we really want to have themers to begin to download Drupal 8 and begin to work with it. We are beta 14 now. I think we have 11 bloggers left. We are talking about any day now. Things can change. After release candidate 1, we are going to be a little bit in the shitter because then all the markup is going to be closed down and locked down. So, download it now and test it and find bugs and come in and help us out. And if you want to help us out, it is on Drupal TWIG on the RSC channel or the hashtag Drupal TWIG. We have weekly meetings every Thursday at 5 o'clock Central European time, which is going to be 6 o'clock for you guys. Every Thursday, you can have me and Larry sitting and joking with each other and a bunch of other people all around the world, where we're trying to now we're doing weekly sprints and trying to clean up as much as we can before release candidate 1. And we really, really, really need you guys' help actually, because the biggest problem around Drupal 7 were that nobody were around to actually help out and to look at it before 6 months later. And we're not going to be stuck with the mistakes we're doing now for the next 5 years, and we really hope that's not going to happen. Questions about this generally? You use Drupal TWIG as a hashtag. There's a whole bunch of us following that tag. The core group, we're like 6 or 7 people now. building all this stuff. Questions, comments, and feedback, send them to my Twitter account, mortendk. I normally always answer that, unless I'm busy with in a second fixing a water pipe leakage or having my daughter on my arm. And with that, I filled out an hour. I can see. I think I left room for 3 minutes of comments. I'm not sure. Uh, but let me jump back so you can actually see my beautiful face.
Excellent. Thank you, Morten. Any questions? Any questions so far?
And I don't know if the screen froze or people are just sitting completely silent.
No, this is very Finnish, very typical Finnish Estonian conference. Nobody has any questions.
Yeah. There's no questions at all. You know what, guys? That's fine. I think what you should all do is you should go and hunt down Lowry, and you should all give him a hug and a beer tonight, because he's actually been doing. I know he's there. He talked just before me, right? He has done a fuck ton of work on this. Oh, sorry for the swearing, by the way, but I'm Danish, so we don't have these polite things that you guys probably don't have either. The Swedes would have them. um, no, go give him a hug and say thank you for the help that he has done. He's been a tremendous help on this mission on cleaning up Drupal 8 and making the theme layer better. We are getting there where we want to. We still have a few big things we want to fix before release candidate 1, but I can't promise you that Drupal 8 theming is nothing near what Drupal 7 was. And you know, if you hate it, you can totally blame me. I'm fine with that. And if you love it, I think you should actually blame the whole team behind it, because I've been the one yelling for years. And I used to be the angry themer. Now, after we killed divitis, I'm actually the happy themer. So, and with that, if you have no questions, I will not hold you any longer, because I guess it's been a long day for you guys.